Hello, and welcome to Therapy, a video series that's part review, part retrospective, but mostly just stuff. The USS Enterprise J. She literally appeared on screen never. All we see is one of her random corridors in a single episode of Star Trek Enterprise. That's about it. But that's not going to stop us from covering this vessel in detail, like the circumstances of her appearance. And we'll probably go off on a few tangents too.
I know. I can't let that happen.
Suit yourself. This is the Enterprise J Therapy. We're introduced to the Enterprise J about halfway through Season 3 of Star Trek Enterprise.
Welcome aboard, Captain. You're on Enterprise. Enterprise J.
By that point, the show was only averaging about 2.5 million viewers per episode in its Friday time slot in the United States. Comparatively, Battlestar Galactica also aired on Fridays in the US and averaged 3.1 million viewers. Also consider that Enterprise aired on UPN, a broadcast network, compared to Battlestar Galactica, which aired on Sci-Fi, a fledgling cable channel. Anyway, Star Trek Enterprise producers needed to throw in some cheap gimmicks to stave off cancellation. So Enterprise was in the middle of a Xindi story arc. In case you need a refresher, the Xindi were an alliance of alien races that attacked Earth and tore up Florida. Yeah, no, real bummer. So Captain Archer was about to embark on a suicide mission to destroy a Xindi weapon when some guy from the 31st century, let's just call him Daniels, brings Archer from the 22nd century to the 26th century to witness stuff happen because that's supposed to persuade Archer from going through with his suicide mission.
Please, no lectures about the Prime Directive.
Apparently, if Archer dies, the Federation will never come into being, and if the Federation never exists, they can't defeat this other alien invasion in the 26th century. And that's supposed to be bad because, whatever, Daniels takes Archer to the USS Enterprise J. To be specific, Daniels takes Archer to some random corridor on the Enterprise J, and this is the only area of the ship to appear on screen. This entire scene only runs for 3 minutes and 20 seconds. We get a glimpse of her exterior thanks to this random picture on the wall. And sort of here. Fans wouldn't see a proper exterior shot of the ship until years later thanks to these design renderings from Doug Drexler. The Enterprise J turned out to be a smash hit with fans as millions of viewers returned to the show. Star Trek Enterprise would continue for 10 seasons and spawn 4 additional movies. In an alternate timeline, in our timeline, the show's ratings continued to decline, the show gave up on itself, like Val Kilmer, and they chose to use this tired, defeated photo of Captain Archer to sell DVDs. Now let's talk about the Enterprise J's design. When the producers decided to slip the Enterprise J into the script, designers only had a matter of hours to come up with the design to be ready in time for production. This meant pulling from existing designs. They used elements from a concept called the Altair class. Altair? Altair. Whatever. Altair sounds better. The Altair class design had been floating around since the USS Voyager and NX-01 design stages. As you can see here, the Enterprise J's warp nacelles were lifted straight from the Altair class. And in an early design pass, they simply placed a saucer section on the existing Altair starship. This concept would be featured in Star Trek's official Ships of the Line calendar series. Notice how this concept's deflector dish is on the engineering hull, compared to the final design where it's located on the forward area of the saucer section. Since the Enterprise D's introduction, each new Federation starship design omitted the neck element that connects the saucer section to the engineering hull. This practice started with the Nebula class design on Star Trek The Next Generation, and continued to the USS Voyager, Defiant, Steamrunner, Saber, Akira, Nova, Prometheus, and Sovereign class ships. The NX-01 also followed this approach. The Enterprise J effectively looks like an advanced NX-class starship, with the hull being primarily comprised of a saucer section, with 2 raised warp nacelles in the rear, and a deflector dish integrated into the forward area of the saucer section. The designers may have been trying to show the lineage between the NX-01 and the Enterprise J.
It could simply be a coincidence.
But we don't really see anything that links it to the Enterprises that came in between, as if something happened and none of these ships ever existed. This shot of the Enterprise J shows the characteristic NCC-1701 registry number. This ship being the J means there must have been an Enterprise F, G, H, and I. The closest we get to seeing any of these ships is the Odyssey-class Enterprise F in Star Trek Online. The Enterprise F is launched in 2409, which is about 30 years following the events of Nemesis. So the Enterprise J exists in the 26th century. There was nearly another Starship Enterprise that would exist in the 26th century. Do you know which it is? Chew on that, and the answer is coming up after this break. So welcome back. The question is, which other Starship Enterprise almost happened in the 26th century? And the answer is, I'll just devote an entire section to it. In 2006, a year prior to Paramount deciding to reboot Star Trek with J.J. Abrams, preliminary work was done on an animated series named Star Trek Final Frontier. Maybe not the best choice of title considering they'd already used it, but whatever. Their target audience wouldn't have cared, and the only people who would have cared are weirdos on the internet who nitpick every little thing. Coincidentally, Star Trek Final Frontier would take place in the 26th century, and feature a starship named Enterprise. It was never specified which letter of the alphabet this Enterprise would carry, but here she is. She abandons the familiar saucer section most Federation ships used, and continues the no-neck approach. Concurrently, there was also a new live-action Star Trek television series in development led by Bryan Singer called Star Trek Federation. This would also be set aboard a Starship Enterprise, only this time in the 31st century. Anyway, CBS Paramount pulled the plug on these shows and moved forward with J.J. Abrams' reboot, and the rest is history. But you already knew that. So getting back to the Enterprise J for a moment, in an interview with Star Trek Communicator, designer Lee Cole mentions that these doors on the Enterprise J were redresses of doors from Deep Space Nine. After hours and hours and hours of watching DS9 to find these doors, I couldn't identify them anywhere. So please never attempt this.
Captain, you have to believe me. You are making a catastrophic mistake.
Aside from that, we're told that the Enterprise J participates in the Battle of Procyon 5, where they defeat trans-dimensional beings called the Sphere Builders. Through her windows, you can make out a few other Federation ships in the battle: the Dauntless, Nova, and Prometheus classes. Each of these ships would also appear on episodes of Star Trek Voyager. The Enterprise J would also appear in this video. So there you have it, the USS Enterprise J, the Enterprise from an alternate future that may or may not eventually exist. Actually, none of this exists. If you want to stay in the loop for future videos, tap that subscribe button, and as always, thanks for watching. Wait, what?
I said you're an ugly bastard.
I expect to see you back tomorrow. Good day.